In 2006, I was invited on an exploratory overland adventure through northern Mongolia with Mongo Fly's Peter Mullet and Genevieve Villamizar. With our skilled Mongolian guides and new pontoon boats, we roamed the countryside in search of the world's largest trout. After a few weeks of decent fishing on some of the more known rivers, we decided to try something even more remote. After some arbitration with the locals, we were led down a long, windy path to one of the most beautiful rivers any of us had ever seen, and a unique stronghold for the legendary river wolves. It was here in this canyon that we got to witness these fish hunting in a pack, change colors, and absolutely attack our flies. After 2 days of incredible fishing, we vowed to someday return to these pristine waters. None of us knew what we were getting ourselves into. We all just kind of went for it.
We'll get to some stuff in here that we really don't know what's on.
It took 2 years to plan this trip, and all we had was a Google Earth map, you know, and a lot of excitement and enthusiasm.
I could see about 50 miles in every direction, and all I saw was a couple of gears. And that's it. I mean, and I said, my God, this next 2.5 weeks I'm going to be really out there, and that's what I like. I knew I was going to have some good fishing.
By far the most enjoyable trip, sitting by the campfire every night sharing stories, and just being on the other half of the world where nothing is touched, no fences, no boundaries.
Like the 1840s, 1850s, it's very western frontier. It's very raw, it's very bustling, there's so much possibility. It was so beautiful just to be able to like slip through the heart of Mongolia, you know, and be able to take in this whole breadth of it.
Being on the water for 16 days straight allowed us to see some really cool territory this year. We covered around 140 miles of new water. One of the best parts for me was getting back down into the canyon. It was amazing to see some of the same fish we saw 2 years ago in the exact same places. The amount of taimen we saw this year was incredible. We got to fish to some amazing fish. One of the highlights for me was being out there with Jeff Courier. He's such a dedicated angler. think Jeff added at least 5 new species to his list on this trip.
And yesterday was really the first day that I hardcore fished dry with success. Dries meaning muskrats about 6 to 8 inches long. I was popping my muskrat through the shallows on the edge of a fast run, and up came a fish that just nailed the fly. After a great battle, like every time it gives you, I landed about a 32 or 33 inch fish. One of the best fishing I've ever had in my life. It's kind of funny, I had quite a collection of flies for this trip, but there's a neat guy in this trip, Brent Dawson, that ties flies for Warpath. That's his little fly company, and he quickly was suggesting some of his patterns to me to try, and after I put them on, I never stopped using them. I probably wouldn't have done as well without his flies.
I am called the Lennox god here. I have found a love for Lennox like probably no other. I could probably spend the rest of my life here catching these Lennox trout species. I think taimen, all in all, they're kind of the bad boy of these waters, and they're tough, and they're a pit bull when you catch one. Very tough. They throw the hook over and over and over, and just to land one is a great accomplishment.
Kick the dead fish out of his mouth.
How they feed is just the freaking teeth just come out and they just start chomping, and you just see this big white part. And I got bit this morning by a taimen. These fish, if they had a chance, would eat you if they could fit you in their mouth.
It was a great moment to catch that big fish, especially after losing that one 2 years ago. I feel so blessed to have gotten to come back to Mongolia and had this experience. We all came to Mongolia for the fishing, but it turned out to be a much bigger experience.
It took a couple days to ease into like, wow, look around. Look at these people really are. They're still herding animals like they were 2,000 years ago. That to me was like the biggest thing that I guess affected me. How you hear about everything about, you know, the Mongolians are still nomads, and it's like one of the most remote places on earth. You can't comprehend that till you come out here and you just see it.
We got to interact with so many different people on so many different levels, and I mean, I love the fishing and everything, but it's the people and the landscape here. And if you were to spy on any group of Mongolians, you're mostly going to hear just joking and giggling and laughing. I think part of their laughter and their jolliness comes from the lack of distractions that we have in the United States. It's wonderful to see how little things have changed, because Mongolia is changing so rapidly it makes my head spin every year I come here. We all know that Mongolia is going to be ripped open with mining for gold and uranium and copper and all that. And there's just so much hope and expectation for the Mongolians and their future.
They're talking about some grassroots movement where the people in Ulaanbaatar who make the rules are all about money and power, whereas the locals, the people we saw on the river, those are the people who are actually observing the rivers, and they see the quality going down. Unless they see a value in preserving it, they probably won't either.
A big part of Peter and Jimbot's program is promoting ecotourism to the local people. The hope is that the taimen may eventually become the catalyst that helps protect this entire ecosystem and ultimately these people's way of life.